I have a confession to make right off the bat.
Yeah.
It's about a friend of mine. Let's call him Julian.
Okay.
Now, walking into Julian's apartment isn't just visiting a friend. It's an experience.
I think I know what you mean.
It's like walking into a carefully curated magazine spread, but one that actually feels lived in. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
The lighting is always warm, never those harsh overheads.
Right.
The furniture isn't a matching set from a big box store, yet it all fits together perfectly. The playlist in the background is obscure stuff I've never heard, but it immediately sets this mood.
And then there's the coffee.
And then he makes you a coffee.
Yeah.
And it doesn't taste like the caffeine delivery system I drink. It tastes like, I don't know, fruit and chocolate and complexity.
I think we all have a Julian in our lives, that person who just seems to operate on a different frequency when it comes to quality.
Right. And every time I leave his place, I have this sinking feeling in my gut. I think, man, he just has it. He has the gene. And I clearly do not. It feels completely binary. You're either born with this magical, cool person software installed in your brain, or you're like me, just kind of fumbling around in the dark.
Just buying whatever shirt is on sale and hoping it matches your pants.
Exactly. How did you know? But that is the universal insecurity of taste, isn't it? It's suspicion that discernment is a biological trait, like eye color.
Or height.
Yeah.
That some people are naturally gifted with a good eye or a refined palate, and the rest of us are just consumers.
Yeah.
But today, we're going to look at a stack of research and notes centered around a text called The Architecture of Discernment, and I have some very, very good news for you.
Oh, I am ready for some good news.
It completely dismantles that insecurity.
Because honestly, believing that I'm just biologically incapable of having good taste is a pretty depressing thought.
Well, you can let that go. If I had to summarize the core premise of what we're diving into today, it's this. Taste is not a magical trait.
Okay.
It is not a genetic gift. It is a cognitive skill. It is a mechanism.
So Julian isn't a wizard.
Julian is just a builder. The source material argues that taste is something you construct. It has mechanics, it has a process, and it has rules.
So we can learn the rules.
And the mission of this deep dive is to tear down the myth of the natural connoisseur and figure out exactly how that building process works. We are going to hand you the blueprints.
I love that. We're moving from taste as a noun, something you have, to taste as a verb, something you do.
Precisely. And not just a skill you pick up by accident. The source material argues that taste is something you build intentionally. It's about how we decide what is good.
So for everyone listening who wants to upgrade their ability to judge quality, whether that's in coffee, design, music, or honestly even making better strategic decisions at work.
This is for you. Stick around. We're going to map out the 3 pillars of taste formation: exposure, repetition, and comparison.
I'm ready.
And we're going to look at the specific trap that catches almost everyone. The difference between actually having taste and just chasing trends.
Because on Instagram, they look identical.
But in your brain, the neural pathways are completely different.
Let's get into the nuts and bolts then. The source starts with a pretty bold opening statement. Taste is developed, not inherited.
It's a strong start.
It is. Now, I hear that, and I want to believe it, but play devil's advocate for a second. Surely biology plays some role. Some people have more sensitive taste buds, right?
Right.
Or better hearing.
That's a fair pushback. And yes, biologically, there are super tasters who have more papillae on their tongues.
Right. I've heard of
There are
that.
people with perfect pitch. But the source makes a critical distinction here between sensitivity and discernment.
What's the difference? Because they sound like the same thing to me.
Think of it this way. Sensitivity is the raw hardware. It's the camera lens.
Yeah.
It determines how much data gets in.
Yep.
Discernment is the software that processes the image. You can have the best eyes in the world, 20/20 vision, perfect color reception, but if you don't know what you're looking at,
You can't judge it.
if you don't understand composition or lighting or context, you can't judge the quality of a photograph.
Okay, that clicks. So I might have a sensitive tongue, but if I don't know the difference between a Merlot and a Cabernet, that sensitivity is just noise.
It's just noise, exactly. The text argues that what we call talent in the realm of taste is usually just the result of invisible practice.
Invisible practice. I like that term. It sounds like a superpower.
It explains the Julian phenomenon perfectly. It's the iceberg illusion.
Right.
When you go to Julian's apartment, you see the result. You see the beautiful chair. You don't see the 10 years of living in ugly apartments where he figured out what he hated.
You don't see the hundreds of design blogs he read at 2 a.m.
Or the thousands of terrible coffees he drank and grimaced at before he figured out how to grind beans correctly.
We just see the highlight reel. And we compare our behind the scenes to his highlight reel.
Exactly. We assume it was instant because we weren't there for the process. But the text is adamant. Discernment is a muscle. If you don't exercise it, it stays weak.
And if you train it, it gets stronger. This brings us to the title of the source material, The Architecture of Discernment. Why architecture? Why not the art of taste or, the vibes of quality?
I think the choice of architecture is incredibly deliberate. Think about what architecture implies.
Structure. Planning.
Structure, planning, a foundation. When we say art, we often associate that with wild, subjective creativity, the lightning strike of inspiration.
Right.
But architecture suggests that you can blueprint this. You can engineer your own taste.
So it removes the mystery. It's the difference between a random occurrence, I just happened to pick a good wine, and a constructed reality.
It implies that taste isn't just subjective chaos where everything is valid and nothing matters. It implies that there are structural rules to quality, balance, integrity, composition.
That you can learn to recognize.
Just like an architect learns to recognize a load-bearing wall versus a partition.
That leads us to this idea of refining judgment. The source says the goal is learning how to refine judgment over time. That word refining really stuck with me because it sounds endless.
It is endless. And that's the scary part for some people. We tend to think of taste as a destination.
Like, I have arrived. I am now a cool person with good taste. I can stop trying.
Exactly that. But this suggests taste is a living thing.
Right, like if you stop working out, you lose the muscle. If you stop refining your taste, what happens? You just become nostalgic.
You become stagnant. You become the person who only listens to the music that was popular when they were 17.
I know that person.
We all do.
Yeah.
That isn't taste, that's memory. True discernment is about staying in an active mode of processing the world. You are constantly taking in new data, processing it, and adjusting your internal metrics.
So if taste is a building we have to construct, we need bricks. We need a method.
And the source lays out a specific mechanism for learning taste, boiling it down to 3 pillars: exposure, repetition, and comparison.
Okay, let's get into them.
These are the non-negotiables. You cannot shortcut this list. If you try to skip one, you end up with a shaky foundation.
So let's start with pillar 1, exposure. The source puts it bluntly. You cannot judge what you haven't experienced.
This is the foundation. To have taste, you must first have data. Imagine a funnel.
Okay.
If the top of your funnel is very narrow, say you only eat at one chain restaurant, you only listen to top 40 radio, you only read one type of news site, your output, your judgment can only be based on that tiny sliver of reality.
Right. If I've only ever eaten Red Delicious apples and you give me a Honeycrisp, I might think it's weird because it's different.
Exactly.
I don't have the context to know if it's good. I don't even know what a pear is in this analogy.
You lack the data set. To develop discernment, you have to aggressively widen the input funnel. You have to seek out variety on purpose. And here is the kicker.
What's that?
This is often uncomfortable.
Uncomfortable how? Like physically?
Mentally and emotionally. Because the modern world, the algorithm, whether it's Spotify, Netflix, or TikTok, is designed to do the exact opposite of widening your funnel. It's designed to feed you more of what you already like. It narrows your funnel to keep you engaged.
Oh, wow. So the algorithm is actively working against my development of taste.
In a way, yes. It promotes comfort over discovery. To build taste, you have to fight the algorithm.
So I have to, I listen to a genre of music that annoys me.
Yes. You have to watch a movie with subtitles that move slowly. You have to try the food that looks scary.
That's a really interesting point. We usually consume things to be comforted or entertained. But you're saying to build taste, we sometimes have to consume things just to file them away.
Yes. You are building a library. Every time you experience something new, even if you hate it, you are adding a data point.
You're expanding the map.
You are expanding the map of what is possible. You cannot know what is best if you haven't seen the full spectrum of what is.
So step 1 is just open the floodgates, see more, hear more, taste more, but doing it once isn't enough, right?
Not at all.
I can't just listen to one jazz song and say, okay, I get jazz. That brings us to pillar 2, repetition.
Repetition is where we move from novelty to nuance. This is a concept in psychology called habituation, but the source applies it beautifully to taste.
Break that down for me. What is happening in my brain when I repeat an experience? Why isn't once enough?
Well, think about the first time you experience something complex. Let's say a really complex piece of classical music, or a very specific type of dry red wine.
Or even reading a dense philosophical book.
Exactly. Your brain is in survival mode.
Survival mode.
It's just trying to categorize the basics. It's asking, is it safe? Is it loud? Is it sour? Do I understand the words?
Yeah.
You are stuck on the surface level because the cognitive load of newness is so high.
Yeah, your brain is just doing a friend or foe check. It's overwhelmed.
Correct. The cognitive load is too high to appreciate the details. But when you repeat that experience, when you listen to that symphony for the 5th time, or taste that wine for the 10th time, your brain stops worrying about the basics.
It habituates.
It habituates to the surface level. It says, okay, I know this part. I know the wine is sour. I know the music is loud.
And once the brain gets bored of the surface, it starts looking deeper.
Exactly. Boredom with the surface is the gateway to depth. Because it's not distracted by the newness, your brain can finally start to notice the structure.
Oh, there's a cello line underneath the violins I didn't hear before.
Or, oh, there's a hint of cherry in the aftertaste that comes out 5 seconds later.
That's fascinating. So repetition isn't just about memorizing. It's about clearing the noise so you can see the signal.
It creates a baseline. You can't notice a deviation, something special or unique, if you don't know what normal looks like.
And you only learn normal through repetition.
This is why you often hear people say, I didn't like this album at first, but after 3 listens, I loved it.
They had to build the architecture to understand it. They needed to frame the house before they could hang the pictures.
Precisely. They had to endure the repetition to unlock the nuance.
Which sets us up perfectly for Pillar 3, which the source calls the critical engine of taste, comparison.
This is where the magic happens. Exposure gives you the data. Repetition gives you the detail. Comparison gives you the value.
Because taste doesn't exist in a vacuum.
Never. You cannot say this is a great chair in isolation. It's impossible. You are actually saying this chair is better than the 500 other chairs I have sat in.
It's all relational.
It is a measurement of distance between 2 points. Taste is entirely relational.
It's the this versus that mechanic. But the source suggests we need to be very active about this, right? It's not just, I remember a chair from last year.
No, our sensory memory is notoriously terrible. If I asked you to describe the exact flavor profile of the coffee you drank 2 weeks ago, you couldn't do it.
I'd probably just say it was hot.
Exactly. You'd say, it was good, maybe.
Okay.
So the source suggests immediate side-by-side comparison to really sharpen discernment. Contrast creates clarity.
Can you give me a visual on that?
Imagine you're at a paint store. This is a classic example.
Yeah.
You look at a white swatch. It looks white. Then you put another white swatch next to it. Suddenly you see the first one is actually pinkish and the second one is bluish.
Oh, right.
Alone, they were just white. Together, their true nature is revealed. Comparison forces the brain to spot the differences.
So, synthesizing this, exposure gives us the map, repetition helps us read the map, and comparison is how we navigate and choose our destination.
That is a perfect way to put it. And if you skip any of them, the system breaks. Exposure without repetition. Repetition is just tourism. You see a lot, but understand nothing.
And repetition without comparison is just habit.
It's just habit. You like what you know, but you don't know if it's good.
I want to ground this because architecture of discernment can sound a little abstract. The source material uses a specific example that I think we can all relate to: coffee.
Ah, yes, the universal language of caffeine.
Now, personally, I used to be a milk and sugar person. Coffee was just a vehicle for caffeine and sweetness.
For a lot of people, it still is, and that's okay. But the source uses the coffee journey to illustrate these pillars perfectly.
It's a great arena to test this, right? The variables are so controlled.
It's just beans, water, heat.
So walk us through it. How does the coffee snob, and I use that term with love, maybe even aspiration now, how do they get built?
Okay, so it starts with exposure. If you only drink the instant coffee at your office, that is your entire universe of coffee flavor.
Your good is just hot and sweet, and your bad is cold or bitter. You have no other coordinates.
Exactly. So to apply Pillar 1, you had to break the routine. You have to go out and buy a light roast from Ethiopia, a dark roast from Sumatra, maybe a medium roast from Colombia.
You expose yourself to the spectrum.
And suddenly you realize coffee isn't just one flavor. It's a category of flavors. You realize acidity is a thing. You realize fruitiness is a thing.
You realize some coffee tastes like mud and some tastes like tea.
Right. Then comes repetition. The source points out the difference between drinking a fancy coffee once a year on vacation versus drinking it every morning. If you drink it every morning, you start to notice consistency. You notice when the barista burns the milk slightly. You notice when the beans are fresh versus when they're 2 weeks old.
You develop that baseline we talked about.
Your brain stops screaming caffeine and starts whispering hazelnut.
And finally, comparison. This is the part that I think actually changes people. The source suggests doing a cupping or a tasting flight.
Yes, and this is where you look a bit crazy to your friends, but it works. You put the convenience store coffee right next to the specialty pour-over.
And you sip them back and forth. You slurp them.
You slurp them to spray the liquid over your palate.
The slurp is key. I always thought that was just people being pretentious.
No, there's physics to it. It aerates the coffee, unlocking more aroma molecules which travel up to your nose. Taste is mostly smell, after all. But the key is the immediate switch. Sip A, sip B, sip A, sip B. When you do that, the difference isn't subtle anymore. It's aggressive.
It's like getting slapped in the face with the difference.
It is. And that is the moment a person moves from saying, it tastes like hot brown water, to saying, I'm getting notes of blueberry and jasmine.
And here's the important part. It's not that their tongue physically changed. They didn't grow new taste buds.
No. It's that they provided their brain with the context through exposure, repetition, and comparison to label the sensation. They built the vocabulary.
That's the big reveal for me. The vocabulary of taste words like acidity, body, mouthfeel. Those aren't just pretentious buzzwords people use to sound smart.
They are tools. They are linguistic handles for sensory data.
Once you have the word for tannins in wine or reverb in music,
you can identify it, you can isolate it, and then you can judge it. You can't debug code if you don't know the programming language.
The coffee snob wasn't born, they were built, cup by cup.
Exactly.
But the source material doesn't stop at coffee. It expands the scope to design and music. And I think music is a really interesting one because it feels so emotional.
Do you feel that way?
We feel like we like a song just because it hits us.
It feels emotional, but the mechanism is actually very mathematical. Musical taste is heavily reliant on pattern recognition.
How so?
Your brain is a prediction machine. When you listen to music, your brain is constantly guessing what note comes next.
Okay.
In simple pop music, the predictions are easy. Verse, chorus, C chord, G chord, C chord. Your brain guesses right, and it releases a little dopamine.
So it feels good. It feels catchy.
It's satisfying. We like pop music because we're winning the guessing game. It's safe. It's comfort food for your ears. But if you apply the pillars, if you have high exposure and high repetition, you eventually get bored of winning that easy game. The pattern becomes too predictable.
It becomes cloying.
Yes. And that's when you move to jazz or something weirder.
Or classical or experimental electronic or heavy metal. You start seeking prediction error.
Prediction error. I like that.
You want the song to not go where you expect. A jazz fan loves it when a chord doesn't resolve or when the rhythm shifts unexpectedly.
To a novice, that sounds like noise.
Yeah.
They played the wrong note.
Right. But to the refined ear, that broken expectation is thrilling.
So when someone says, I hate jazz, it's just chaotic, what they're actually saying is, I haven't built the pattern recognition library to understand the complexity yet.
Correct. They don't have the architecture to decode it. The jazz fan usually gets there because they have exposed themselves to so much music that the standard patterns became boring.
They needed more complexity to feel stimulated. That's the refinement process in action.
They aren't trying to be difficult. Their baseline has just shifted.
Yes. And this connects to design, too. The source mentions looking at why certain objects look right.
Design is a great example of function versus aesthetics. A novice looks at a chair and judges it purely on aesthetics.
Is it a cool color? Is the shape fun?
Which is how I buy furniture. It's blue. I like blue. That's the depth of my analysis.
And that's fine.
Yeah.
But a person with discernment looks at the chair and sees affordances.
Affordances.
They see how the object invites you to use it. They look at the joinery. Is it strong? They look at the angle of the back. Does it support human posture or force you to hunch? They are seeing the logic of the object, not just the surface skin.
So through exposure, seeing thousands of chairs or websites or teapots, you start to realize that good design is usually solving a problem elegantly.
Exactly. Good design is intelligence made visible. Taste in design is the ability to recognize that intelligence.
You start to see that the cool shape actually makes the chair impossible to sit in for more than 5 minutes.
And that's bad design no matter how cool it looks.
And here's where it gets really interesting to me. The source broadens the lens even further to everyday decision-making. Because up until now, we've been talking about hobbies, coffee, music, furniture. But the source argues that you use the same architecture for running a meeting or writing an email.
This is crucial. If you take nothing else away from this deep dive, take this. Taste is just high-quality decision-making.
Explain that. How does taste apply to a corporate meeting?
Think about what we call professional judgment, or reading the room. That is discernment. How do you learn to run a fantastic, efficient meeting?
Well, usually by suffering through 1,000 terrible ones.
Exactly. That's pillar 1 and 2, exposure and repetition. You sit through endless, boring meetings, exposure.
Yep.
You start to notice the patterns of why they were boring. No agenda, people talking over each other, the leader is disengaged, repetition. And then,
You
hopefully,
experience one great meeting, and you compare.
you compare. You ask, why was that one good? Oh, the leader sent an agenda beforehand. They cut off the rambling guy politely. They ended 5 minutes early.
You isolate the variables of quality. That is taste. You are building a taste for effective management.
I love that. It democratizes the concept. It's not just for art critics. It's for anyone trying to do good work.
It's the ability to distinguish the effective from the ineffective, the substantial from the superficial in any domain. It's a life skill.
It's knowing when an email needs to be a phone call or when a presentation needs more data or more story. That's all discernment.
However, there is a trap. And the source spends a good amount of time on this. We have to talk about the dark side of taste.
Trend chasing. The counterfeit version of taste.
Because from the outside, they look the same, right? A person who follows trends looks like they have taste. They're wearing the cool clothes. They're drinking the oat milk cortado.
They have the mid-century modern furniture. They look like Julian.
Exactly. They look like Julian, but the internal mechanism is the complete opposite.
Let's break that down. What is trend chasing in the context of this architecture?
Well, trend chasing is outsourcing your judgment. It is letting an external force, a magazine, an influencer, an algorithm dictate what is good.
It bypasses the pillars.
Completely. You skip exposure because you aren't exploring, you're being fed. You skip repetition because you move on to the next trend before you truly understand the first one.
And you definitely skip comparison.
Right, because you aren't asking, is this better? You're asking, is this popular?
You jump straight to adoption. You buy the thing because you were told it's the thing to buy.
There's a concept in sociology called mimetic desire. We desire things because other people desire them.
Trend chasing is pure mimetic desire. It's social signaling. I want you to know that I know what is cool.
And the problem with that is, it seems efficient. If I buy the cool chair, I have a cool chair. Who cares how I got there?
The problem is fragility. The moment the trend shifts, and it will shift, you are left holding the bag. You have no foundation.
You don't know why you bought it.
So you don't know what to do next until someone tells you. You are a passenger in your own life. You're constantly anxious that you're falling behind.
Versus paying attention. The source identifies this as the root of actual good taste.
Paying attention means engaging with the object or experience directly. It means asking, do I actually like this? Why?
How does it compare to what I used yesterday?
Does this chair actually support my back, or do I just like that it's on TikTok?
It sounds like trend chasing is about the audience. What does this say about me to others? And paying attention is about the experience.
What is this object actually doing for me? That's the distinction. True taste is for you. It's about your personal satisfaction and understanding of quality. Trend chasing is a performance.
Which leads us to the source's explicit rejection of gatekeeping.
Yes, this is so important.
Because often when we talk about discernment or high standards, it sounds elitist. It sounds like the guy at the record store sneering at you because you don't know the obscure B-side from 1974.
You like the popular stuff. How quaint. That guy's the worst.
He is.
But the source argues that gatekeeping is actually a sign of insecurity, not taste. If you are using your knowledge to keep people out, you are using taste as a status weapon.
You're playing a status game, not a quality game.
Right. So true taste should be inviting.
True taste is usually enthusiastic. Think about it. When you really, truly love something, when you eat a meal that blows your mind or hear a song that makes you cry, what is your first instinct?
I want to tell people. I want to make them try it. You have to eat this.
Exactly. You have to hear this. Look at how they filmed this scene. When you really understand the pattern, you want to share the pattern.
The architecture of discernment is about building your own house, not building a wall around the neighborhood to keep people out.
I love that. True taste is about personal refinement, not keeping others out. That's a quote for the fridge.
It really changes how you interact with people. You stop judging their bad taste and start wondering, maybe they just haven't had the exposure yet. Maybe I can show them something cool.
We're coming into the final stretch here, and I want to tackle a philosophical concept the source throws out. Subjectivity versus chaos.
The old taste is subjective argument.
Right. We hear that all the time. Beauty is in the eye of the beholder. There's no accounting for taste. Basically, people use this to end the conversation.
It implies that quality is all random personal preference. If I like it, it's good. End of story.
The source pushes back on this. It says, yes, preference is subjective, but quality is often objective. And treating everything as subjective chaos is just laziness.
Walk me through the difference. Preference versus quality.
Okay, take a table. You might prefer a glass table because it looks modern. I might prefer a heavy oak table because it looks rustic.
That is subjective preference.
Yeah.
Neither is wrong.
Okay.
But if the glass table wobbles every time you touch it, has sharp edges that cut your knees, and shatters when you put a hot coffee cup on it,
That is objectively bad design. It fails at being a table.
it lacks integrity. Exactly. The source argues that we can learn to identify these structural metrics: balance, integrity, intent, clarity.
If a singer is off-key and they didn't intend to be, that is a technical failure.
Right. You can still like it. You can say, I love this song because it's messy and raw. That's fine.
Yeah.
But you should be able to discern that it is technically messy.
So the goal isn't to make sure we all like the exact same things. We aren't trying to build an army of clones who all buy the same beige sofa.
No, that would be a boring dystopian nightmare. Diversity of taste is beautiful. The goal is to build a personal architecture so that our choices are intentional.
Exactly. You want to be able to say, I like this weird wobbly table because it reminds me of my grandmother's house, and I value that emotional connection over structural stability.
That is an intentional choice based on discernment. That is taste.
Versus saying, I bought this table because it was the first one I saw, and I don't know what makes a table good.
That is just lack of agency.
It's about agency. That's the word. It's about taking ownership of your experience of the world.
It is. It's about deciding to be an active participant in your own life rather than just a consumer.
So let's bring this all together. We've covered a massive amount of ground today. We started with the idea that taste is not a birthright. It's a construction project.
It's a muscle you build. We dismantled the nature versus nurture myth and looked at the invisible practice behind talent.
We unpack the three pillars: exposure, widening the funnel to get more data; repetition, getting past the surface to find the nuance;
And comparison, the engine that creates value through contrast.
we looked at how this applies to coffee slurping and all, and how it applies to music, design, and even professional leadership.
We warned against the shiny trap of trend chasing, which is just mimicry without understanding.
And distinguished it from the real work of paying attention.
And finally, we landed on the idea that this isn't about snobbery. It's about intentionality. It's about filling your world with things that have meaning and quality to you, not just things that the algorithm served up.
So here is our challenge to you, the listener. We want you to pick one thing this week, just one category,
It doesn't have to be fancy. It could be chocolate bars. It could be apples. It could be the pens you use at work.
and actively apply the pillar of comparison. Do not just consume it on autopilot.
Go buy 2 different dark chocolates, or listen to a cover song and the original back-to-back. Put them side by side.
And ask yourself the specific questions. What is different? Is the texture different? Is the timing different? Which one is better?
Why is it better?
Engage the mechanism. Be the architect. Stop sleepwalking through your sensory experiences.
You might be surprised by what you learn about yourself. You might find out you actually hate the coffee you've been drinking for 5 years.
That's a risk we're willing to take. And I want to leave you with a final thought, something that kind of bubbled up for me while reading the source material.
Go for it.
It's a bit of a philosophical ledge to stand on. If taste is just a result of what we expose ourselves to, if we truly are just the sum of our inputs, processed through repetition and comparison.
Then we are the architects of our future preferences.
Exactly. We are programming our future selves right now. The inputs you choose today determine the taste you have tomorrow. So the question is, what are you exposing yourself to today? Are you feeding your brain junk? Or are you building a foundation for something better?
That is the question.
Thanks for diving in with us. We'll see you next time.
Keep paying attention.